I think if I had to answer the question right now, like, well, what party are you, or who do you support then? Because you have to, you have to pick a side. You have to fight the good fight. I don't know. And that's kind of why I just feel like I need to do this.
Start remembering what you hear.
Well, hi out there, and welcome to...
And now, the world's foremost authority.
Check it out! Wearing the red striped shirt!
Cut! What do you do?
It's a highly specialized field.
Playing records.
Constant fun.
Are you ready? Let's motivate.
The DJ of the future is going to be a respected member of the community.
Motivate people to get out and buy, or try, or use.
All right. Hey guys. Megan here with We the Jaded, and this is my second now video podcast that I'll be putting out. I did go back and rewatch the first one a couple of times just to, I don't know, torture myself, and it's fine. It's whatever. I did invest in a few things now. So I have a microphone, I've got a nice ring light. I'm hoping that kind of improves the quality a little bit, but that being said, I thought I would just kind of spend this one kind of doing a background on myself and how I got here, why I'm here, aside from kind of what I touched on in the first episode. But my name is Megan. I live in the Midwest, Minnesota to be exact, and I've lived here my whole life. I was born here, raised here. I've traveled to like a handful of states, driven through a handful of states, and that's about it. So I'll never pretend to be like world traveled and speak to the experiences of other people in America and where they're from and maybe what they're experiencing there. But I think the fact that I am here and in a rural setting at that in Minnesota does give me a little bit of a maybe less heard perspective than a lot of other channels or podcasts and things out there. I also have a cat, 2 cats, as you can hear one of them, but I have a brood of animals here, 2 cats, 2 dogs, 2 tortoises, 4 kids who are like my whole world, and honestly like a big reason why I really am just feeling more and more drawn and called to doing this and speaking out and just putting myself out there, because as cliche as it sounds, like your whole world and life and perspective on things really does change when you become a parent, and I'm no different. That's definitely happened to me, and I wouldn't say has changed me in like my politics really. Like I'm still pretty much where I started, generally speaking, but yeah, I mean, I care about them and their world and what they're going to be living in, and I think it's just important for us to care about that and speak to it. Being that I grew up in Minnesota, we are a blue state, if you weren't aware. I came from a split home, so I lived with my mom and my stepdad and my younger half siblings, who they're just my siblings. I don't really call them my half brothers and sisters. They're my brothers and sisters, but we were a progressive household, I guess you would say. My mom and my mom's family have just always been that. I mean, before it was called being progressive, they were liberals, they were Democrats. It was I just always knew that. I was young when I started really hearing about these things and current events and what was going on in the world at the dinner table and on the news. I wasn't pushed away from seeing that and being witness to it. So I always knew where my mom and my family that I lived with and was closest to stood on those things, which, yeah, definitely helped form my opinions and my views on the world now. But I've also grown and have my own thoughts on a lot of that type of stuff, and I wouldn't say that I fit into the same box as them anymore. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, whether you were brought up in a more conservative or religious household. We kind of, I think, tend to stick to the base of where we started, but then, I don't know, flourish outside of it, I guess you could say. And I think that that's where I am now. That's where I fall now, is if you ask someone on the right or the far right about me, who knows me, yeah, they're going to say I'm a liberal. They're going to say I'm an extreme progressive or a leftist. And I guess I wouldn't say that they're wrong. I think that my own empathy and the way that I am able to kind of see where people are coming from and at least have a sort of understanding as to how they got there without a lot of judgment. I mean, we all judge, but I think that, in my opinion, separates me from the box that I would be put in. I don't know when it was. Like I said, I think it was probably when I had kids that things sort of started to shift with me. But I also know that I've always had like a distrust of authority, and even as like a teenager, and for perspective, I was in 8th grade when 9/11 happened. So the short years after that, when we were first getting into like the war in Iraq and then getting into Afghanistan and all of that, I was definitely surrounded by, like I said, a family that had strong opinions about George Bush and what was happening with all of that. And I just kind of found myself not 100% really agreeing with everything they were saying either. Like, maybe because I was young, but not too young to really know what was happening when 9/11 happened. I just kind of did have that feeling, like I think a lot of Americans did, like, well, we should be doing something to, fight back against the people who did this. I obviously did not know, I would say, what I know now. Not that I know everything, but I think I know enough to kind of know that there was many people in the wrong in that situation and how that came to be, and then what happened afterwards. And I don't really think I ever bought into, oh, Republicans bad, Democrats good on this. I think I kind of just never agreed with most of it. But I didn't have like super strong, like, I wasn't out protesting or going on marches or anything protesting the war in Iraq. I also definitely had a different life now than I do now in how I was. I was young and dumb, and I lived in a small town, and I was good at finding trouble. And I spent most of my teenage years and young adult kind of dealing with the repercussions of that. But I still always cared about politics and what was going on in the world and what was to come of our future. It was just, once I had kids, definitely everything changed in my life. I mean, thankfully, the party life and those choices kind of fell away and weren't as important to me. But then also I had these tiny humans that I needed to care for and think about and want what was best for. And just, I wanted them to experience everything that I didn't or couldn't, but also like what I did. It's a really weird thing being a millennial parent, I think, in that I remember when I was my kids' age that they are right now, there was no internet. If there was, it wasn't something that just anyone had access to. And just, I wanted to play. I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to be getting dirty and like exploring, going on walks through the ravine by my house and going down the road to a farm that was used, like an old farm, but they still kept their horses there, but they didn't live there. So there was just always this big pasture of a couple horses that I would just crawl under the fence and pet them and hang out with them. And just, I cannot imagine most kids these days wanting to do any of that stuff. And there are parts of me that like, I do want my kids to want those things and to be excited about that kind of stuff, but it's so hard now with technology and the way it is. It's hard to kind of keep them from only wanting to focus on that stuff because that's fun to them now. And I get that too. Like I know these things aren't going anywhere. Like we're not going to be able to shove all these advancements back into, a closet somewhere and tuck them away. I'm sorry that didn't work, or found out that was bad for your little brain. Like it's too late. And there's so many like awesome things that have come of it. This being one of them, like me doing this is like so really crazy to me, but I just want them to have their best life and their future to look as bright as possible. And I started having children, kind of right before the 2016 election. I was actually pregnant with my first son during that election year. So that experience was kind of crazy in general. I mean, from my perspective, and definitely not the outcome that I had wanted at that time. Let's just say that. And then being pregnant and hormonal and stressed and worried about the future and this baby that's coming into and just thinking like the worst case scenario sometimes, which obviously didn't happen. But it was eye-opening to say the least. And my other children, came shortly after that. And since then, it's kind of just been a giant fucking shit show. Like, if we're all being honest, everything's kind of just gone down the hill. Like, it's gotten worse. And I don't say that from like only my perspective on life and what I maybe think would be better for all of us and who's our president and who isn't and what party's in charge. I say that from the perspective of all of us, because in my opinion, even if you are on the winning side, in 2016 and now 2024 with Trump winning and his administration and now having the House and the Senate, even if that is your team and you are just like, go, like I am MAGA all the way, nobody ever really seems like happy. They just don't. And if they do, it's in kind of like an unhealthy way. Like I'm so like pumped that this happened because now this is going to happen and this, and I'm so glad like things are getting back to how they should be and these people don't deserve this. And like, I guess I just don't view happiness that way. And I don't think, or I like to think that if the shoe was on the other foot, and I somehow got what I thought was, the greatest outcome, which, let me tell you, I'm not saying that if it was Kamala Harris that was what I thought the greatest outcome would be, because that's not what I'm saying. But if I did, could pick, I think this is best and what would be best for everyone and whatever, like, I don't think I would feel like truly happy if that meant me just going around and kind of like shitting on everyone else that was not happy that I got my way. I don't know. I don't think that any of us are truly happy and are truly satisfied with how anything is going right now. And it's not healthy for us as individuals, and it's also just not for society and for the good of humanity, the world. I don't know. I mean, that sounds dramatic, but that's how I feel. So I know I didn't tell you my whole life story, and I don't think anybody wants to know that, but I just thought maybe this would be a good peek into kind of how I got here. I think if I had to answer the question right now, like, well, what party are you, or who do you support then? Because you have to pick a side. You have to fight the good fight. I don't know. And that's kind of why I just feel like I need to do this, because I love to talk and I love to just, I guess, think out loud. And even though I'm not directly talking to anyone back and forth in a conversation right now to start with these, if I know that someone out there sees this and kind of relates, and then I can build on that relationship and start having more discourse and conversations with others, I think that's going to help me make that decision. And I guess I'll preface it by saying I'm 100% not ever going to be like a all-in mega maha Trump lover. Like, I know that that's not where I'm at. I don't feel right about any of it, and that's kind of what I want to focus on and get into with some of these first videos, is just kind of the things that I notice and that I find hypocritical and that just don't mesh right in my mind, and justifying supporting just the one other side either. So I guess a term that I've heard and I think applies best to me is probably just politically homeless, and that I know my morals and I know my values and I know what's important to me. I just haven't found that person or that party that I think really encompasses that well. But while also just not being a sellout and not being a liar and not being a hypocrite. And as much as I understand that, like, it is a system and we have to, play the system and go along with it to change it, I just really don't find that anyone's really trying that hard right now to do that. And I want for someone to do that, to want to do that, to say, like, no, this isn't right. This isn't how it should be, and it's not how it needs to be. And if that just has to be me right now, and I know probably millions others out there that think the same thing, but if it just has to start with little old me or other people that agree with me here talking that way and saying that and basically begging for someone to step up and be that person, then that's all I got right now. So I'm just going to do that and hope for the best and just keep having these conversations and putting out this content in hopes that I'll meet more of you and we can just all go from there. But I guess I'll leave that at that. Thank you for watching this whole thing. If you did, I appreciate it. I hope that you'll subscribe to the channel. I do also have a Substack that's linked in the description, either on the channel or with this video, as well as a Patreon that I am in the process of getting set up. But, you know, if I'm really going to do what I want to do and try and break through to this big vision that I have, I want to do it like with the best of intentions and coming from the best place. And I don't want to be like making brand deals and having to do readings of commercials and this. Like, a lot of the people that I respect and listen to and follow on all ends of the spectrum online, they don't do that. And this is what they do. They put out videos, they have a Patreon or some other way of people just, you know, donating what they can or care to just allow them to do what they're passionate about. And this is what I'm passionate about, and this is what I care about, and it means so much to me. So thanks again for watching. I hope you'll like, comment, share, whatever, subscribe, like I said, and I will see you next time for We're the Jaded. Bye.